spring break, 1989. Thousands of American college students crossed the border into Matamoros-Mexico, looking for sun, music, and an escape from their studies. Among them is Mark Kilroy, a 21-year-old pre-med student with a bright future. But on a crowded street in the middle of the night, Mark vanishes without a trace. It is the nightmare every parent fears. A young kid disappears in a foreign country. But what the police found when they started looking for Mark was not just a kidnapping. It uncovered a web of corruption, drug cartels, and a charismatic cult leader who convinced his followers that human sacrifice made them invisible to the law. Today, we are diving into the terrifying history of Los Narcosatanicos, the Narcosatanists, and how a Cuban-American cult leader turned a drug cartel into a ritualistic nightmare. Let us set the scene. It is March 1989. Mark Kilroy and his friends are in Matamoros. It is crowded, loud, and chaotic. At around 2 a.m., Mark gets separated from his friends near the border crossing. He is approached by men in a car, lured over, and forced inside. Just like that, he is gone. Initially, the police struggled. In the late 80s, border security and cross-border cooperation were not what they are today. But Mark's family had connections, and they put massive pressure on both U.S. and Mexican authorities. The search was intense, but weeks passed with zero leads. The breakthrough did not actually come from a kidnapping investigation. It came from a routine drug bust. It was a classic case of police pulling a thread and the whole sweater unraveling. On April 9, 1989, Mexican federal police spotted a vehicle bypassing a checkpoint near Matamoros. They tailed it to a remote ranch called Rancho Santa Elena. When they raided the ranch, they found a massive stash of marijuana. But they also noticed something incredibly strange. There was a caretaker on the ranch, and when they questioned him, he casually mentioned seeing the missing American student, Mark Kilroy, on the property. He admitted it just like that because he did not think he was doing anything wrong. And that is the most chilling part of this story. The cartel members genuinely believed they were protected by a supernatural force. They did not fear the police because they believed they were invisible. To understand why they believed that, we have to talk about the man behind the madness, Adolfo de Jesus Constanzo. Constanzo was born in Miami to a Cuban immigrant mother. From a young age, he was immersed in various folk religions and occult practices, specifically Palo Mayombe, an Afro-Caribbean religion. But Constanzo took the traditional practices of Palo Mayombe and warped them into something unrecognizable and highly violent. Like most cult leaders, he had a magnetic personality. He was handsome, charming, and highly manipulative. In the mid-1980s, he moved to Mexico City, where he started offering spiritual services, cleansings, tarot readings, and rituals to wealthy clients, including celebrities, drug lords, and even high-ranking police officers. It is wild to think that police officers were paying a cult leader for spiritual protection, but it gave him incredible leverage. Eventually, Constanzo aligned himself with the Hernandez drug cartel in Matamoros. He convinced them that his rituals could make their drug shipments invisible to DEA agents and make the cartel members bulletproof. But there was a catch. The spirits, he claimed, demanded a price, and that price was human blood. So when the police raided Rancho Santa Elena because of the drug lead, they heard about Mark Kilroy. What they found when they started digging shocked the world. In the center of the ranch, they found an iron cauldron called an nganga. Inside were animal remains, blood, and human brains. It sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. The police ordered the cartel members to start digging up the property. Over the next few days, they unearthed 15 bodies. Among them was Mark Kilroy. The autopsies revealed that these victims had not just been executed. They had been ritually sacrificed. Constanzo believed that the more his victims suffered, the more powerful the spiritual protection would be for his cartel. The public reaction was massive. This was 1989. Right at the height of the satanic panic in the United States and Mexico. The media quickly dubbed them the Narcosatanists. It sparked global terror about occult groups operating in the shadows. With the ranch exposed and the police knowing his identity, Constanzo went on the run. He, his high-profile accomplice Sarah Aldrade, known as La Madrina, or the Godmother, and several disciples fled to Mexico City. They hid out in a high-rise apartment, burning cash and growing increasingly paranoid. The police finally tracked them down due to a mistake on the cult's part. They ran out of food and supplies, and one of the members made a phone call that the police intercepted. On May 6, 1989, police surrounded the apartment building. They did not go quietly. Constanzo opened fire from the window with a machine gun, throwing stacks of cash into the street to try and cause a riot or a distraction. But as the police closed in, Constanzo realized he was not going to escape. He ordered one of his followers, Alvaro de Leon Valdez, to shoot him and his partner, Martin Quintana Rodriguez. He chose to die rather than face justice. When police finally breached the apartment, Constanzo was dead. Sarah Aldrade and the remaining followers were arrested. Sarah Aldrade is still in prison today, serving a sentence of over 60 years. To this day, she claims she was a hostage and a victim of Constanzo's manipulation, rather than an active leader, though prosecutors painted a very different picture of her role as La Madrina. It is a terrifying reminder of how charisma, greed, and extreme belief systems can combine into something incredibly destructive. The legacy of the Narcosatanists changed how both U.S. and Mexican authorities viewed the intersection of drug trafficking and cult dynamics. That is all for today's episode. If you want to dive deeper into the history of true crime and the bizarre cases that shook the world, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below with your thoughts on this case, and we will see you in the next episode.